Okay, so here basically you see, a very typical business process management suite that our customers use. Could be network BPM, could be arrays, or could be anything else, some external tool. So the whole idea is that here you see, for example, a very abstract definition of account receivable. Yeah, you have different steps happening: start, then collect deposit, then send full quote, then process payment, and then collections in the end. Yeah. So normally you have these processes not documented with our customers, and as I said, if they are not documented, we can still mine them, from your transactional data. So what we have done in TIMBUS is that we have provided some, integrated support for business continuity management within these solutions that our customer use, and the whole idea is that start with business impact. So whole idea is you can click on each single activity, and then we can ask our customers, okay, what is the impact if this activity becomes unavailable for 3 hours? He can give us some information, 100 euros lost, then legal will be none, external will be none, and severity is computed automatically. Then, for example, if the downtime is 1 day, it could be 2,000. And so the whole idea is that we go to our customer, the guy who is a manager, who has expert knowledge, and he can provide information about, the different downtimes and what is the money he will be losing. Yeah, for example, 2 days could be, he could be facing a very significant loss. Like, I don't know, 5,000. What's the 5? Okay, let's say 50,000. Yeah. Legal impact could be, he can say, so these are basically. So some of the impacts, as I said, you can quantify because he knows his business is not running. He can compute, can tell you the exact figures from the history data, and some of them are you cannot quantify. So legal impact could be high, low, or medium, whatever. So you basically the whole idea is you could so about the customer. Now external means the customer or external stakeholders. So if this activity is not working, he can say that in terms of customer satisfaction, it could be mega impact. My customers will be very unhappy about that. Yeah. So then some severity is computed. So the whole idea is for each single process activity. So it's not for the whole process one business impact table. For each single activity in the finance department. Yeah. So it's a very fine-grained level. For each single activity, we compute this business impact information, and then the next step is. Normally, this is the data which is automatically retrieved from your logs, from your history data that is already within your organization. Collect deposits. So who is needed for this particular process activity? So here we were looking into Japan scenario, when we had a earthquake there, people were unable to work. So staff is working, against this activity. We need Japan staff. And they also, accessing some third-party service, which is credit check again, a simple example. So for each activity, you have different resources that are needed. So here you have all the resources that are basically available for any particular domain. If you think about retail, we have SAP has more than 300 retailers who are our customers, yeah, who buy our solution. So we can easily generalize, what are the resources normally in the retail domain. So we can basically, essentially build up libraries about the resources. Okay, once you allocate all the resources that are needed, then the next step is scheduling, And the scheduling means, let me make it. So scheduling means, why I cannot see the, yeah. So scheduling means how often this activity happens. Is it a quarterly and closing activity, or it's a normal activity with some, time it is happening? Here you can see, cycle time. So it's 0.025, for example, minutes. And the whole idea is collect deposit. So William, he was talking about workflow, right? So, in my workflow, I get an email, okay, this item is waiting for you to process, yeah? So I go into my workflow and I process that item, and then what happens actually in the back end is the time when it arrived into my workflow, this time is logged. And the time when I start working on it, this is logged. And my name as a resource is logged. And the time when I completed that activity, this is logged. So in short, a huge amount of information is available in these logs about activities. Yeah, so we can easily compute also, how long this activity normally takes time, minimum time and the maximum time. For example, very good example is passport application. So still we don't know why, in many countries it still takes 4 weeks to get a passport, right? So we don't have the visibility where there are queues, where it gets stuck. So this approach really, gets into that very fine detail information and can tell, okay, who are the culprits? Who are the guys who are not working in your organizations? Who are the resources which are not, optimal? You need more resources there. Yeah, that's the idea. Okay, so in short, you have all the information about the activity times, which is needed when we are running the analysis. So once we are done with that, so what we can do next is, and this is normally extracted automatically from the logs. Yeah, so this is the data available within our organization. You see that, yeah. Okay, then the next step is basically, the whole dependency information. What is needed for what? For example, I have staff. They need to be placed into the office. Office need to have access to SAP system. SAP system needs to have some network, availability and the network, and then finally network needs electricity, because it is running on electricity. And if there is, electricity failures in Japan due to earthquakes or due to other disruptions, then I need to have uninterrupted power supply in place. Yeah. So all this basically whole dependency information can be extracted together from the business process logs and our context model. Yeah, that's the idea here in this project. Okay, once I have, and then what I can do is further is that I can, for each particular resource, we can annotate risks, what can happen, for example, with Japan staff. Japan staff, for example, I don't know, they become sick. Yeah. So how often it happens, I can easily look into my HR data for each my employee, and then I can come up with some average values. So my staff, it becomes sick, one employee once in 120 days, and the recovery time is normally 1 day. If it is a light flu, if it is a cold flu, like it's a severe flu, like it happens in Belfast where I live, then it could be, 5 days. Yeah. So we can basically log. And then another risk, for example, you could add is basically, Japan staff vacation. Yeah. So this is basically the idea that they are going on vacation. Every employee goes on vacation, and then you can also add, how often it happens. Yeah. For example, I don't know, in vacation we go once in 280 days. Okay, I don't know why it is not working. Yeah, so 201 in 280 days, and what is my minimal recovery? Maybe, I come back after, I don't know, let's say 4 days, or, I don't know, maybe 2, 4, 5, 6, what comes to, no, it's too much.
Can I work for you?
So the minimum recovery, when he goes on holiday, it could be, 4 days minimum. I just go on a week vacation, or I go on a 10 days vacation, to some, I don't know, if I'm in summer in June. Yeah. So in short, this data is extracted from the HR data, yeah, and this data is also available. And then what happens with, other resource, electricity? I'm talking now electricity in Japan, and I have a provider that provides me electricity. And they get also, they provide information from in their SLAs, what are their disruptions, how often do they happen, what is the, availability time when they become back. For example, electricity becomes available in Japan once in 60 days. And the minimum recovery is 1 hour, due to some small glitch. And the maximum recovery is, I don't know, 4 hours, or if it is a massive earthquake like happened recently, it could be a couple of days. So the whole idea is you annotate all this information which is available from your different services, different providers, yeah? So what happens with UPS now, uninterrupted power supply? It does the good work. When electricity is unavailable, it can still provide me electricity for the next 6 days. But after 6 days, it is also dead. So it means that if electricity is unavailable for 8 days, then UPS will compensate for the 6 days, but for the next 2 days, my whole business is dead. Yeah. So you have to look into all these things.